Hey friends, I wasn't planning on making a video today, but I thought it'd be kind of fun to talk about a subject which just kind of popped in my mind. Actually, it didn't really, but it's something I've considered over the years. I think I did touch on this, like, 5 years ago. I don't even remember. Something that sort of popped in my head. I sound British. Did you like that? I'm tired. It's fine. Playing with a little rock here. Lately, I used to enjoy picking up, like, natural rocks or any kind of object off the ground, leaves, whatever. And lately I've been having a real thing about, like, natural, like, rough rocks. This guy has, like, a personality. He sure does. It looks like he has, like, an eyeball. Look, he looks like a little snake. Anyway. So, I've been thinking about myself and my brain and how I've developed or not developed chemically in my head, and versus my spirituality. I did have some pointers, but I'm trying to recollect what they were. I am what you would call, or what people call, neurodivergent. I have some aspects or bits of Asperger's syndrome or autism in me, and I also have adult ADHD, which I have not gotten tested for. In the last few years, not few years, but several years, I got diagnosed twice with it. I got diagnosed when I was about 10, and then I got diagnosed again when I was like 20 or 21, and I'm in my late 20s now, so yeah, it was a while ago. But, like, yeah, that would count as adult ADHD or adult ADD. I still call myself ADD, even though it's ADHD. A lot of people say it's ADHD without the H, and I'm just like, so it's ADD. Like, but these days when I type it, I say, AD parentheses HD. Yeah, anyway, that's not really important. What's important is talking about how being neurodivergent can sort of separate you mentally from your person, really. I think a lot of people find it hard, in general, to practice witchcraft, or practice witchcraft at least in the way that we are taught to. And we're taught that we have to sit in an altar, do spells, make the circle, pray every day, some of us, meditate on a daily basis, and having that sort of schedule for somebody who's neurodivergent or has ADHD is pretty hard. I think I did pretty well when I was starting witchcraft, but as life built up and I got more serious, I had to do taxes, I had to get jobs and all that shit, it got harder and harder for me to not only just do those things, which I did enjoy doing, but, you know, and recently in the last few months or so, I have realized how little they actually work for me in the long run. But we'll get to that in a second. Right now I'm talking about how real life can get in the way. And if you have ADHD, so what are some symptoms of ADHD? ADHD is obviously not ability to focus, is the one everyone knows about, but it goes beyond that. There's a lot of thoughts that interact with each other or cross over each other. It's not just getting distracted, it's like going into another dimension sometimes, and you go into your own world sometimes, and it's really hard to get out of. And when you try to focus, you can't just snap back. At least for me, I can't. It's very difficult to get back into the moment. It's very difficult to remember not remember what you're doing, but be able to structure in your mind the steps you need to do something, say, like a job or something. And it's not just about focus, it's a lot more heavy than that. It's a lot more difficult, and it's very hard to explain if you don't have it. Your mind is everywhere all the time, and even if you don't have the hyper part, it's still everywhere. Now the thing is, I think part of my neurodivergency, is that what you call it, is partially what drew me, or one of many reasons really, what drew me to spirituality and witchcraft and stuff, is because it sort of had me able to, had a lot of elements where I could focus and concentrate and manifest, and things that would help me actually in my life, while sort of being in another world, with stones and crystals and herbs and all these really cool things, and gods and goddesses, and while I'm here grounded in a real world, I could focus on, you know, astral travel in the spiritual world, and talking to Bridget and Caradwyn and stuff. There's a mix of sort of being grounded here while connecting to the spiritual plane. And while that drew me in, I think there was also part of the problem. Because being able to connect reality and the spiritual is almost impossible sometimes. I told myself when I was beginning, I would bring in the goddess. The goddess energy, I would bring in ancestral energy, or I would bring in the power of the ogre, whatever I needed for that day in my real life. But it always disappeared, or I always felt like it disappeared. And I felt like if I couldn't keep that in my mind, then it wasn't going to happen. And I wasn't wrong. Sometimes I would literally, it got to the point where, like, I would take a few days break off of being spiritual to concentrate on real life, and those few days alone would just have me so disconnected, up to the point where, like, I couldn't even grasp that core energy that I had. There's people walking around and sleeping, and okay. I probably can edit videos, but I just don't know if I should. Anyway, so basically there's a huge disconnect, and what I was trying to say is that, like, I didn't forget, but, like, my spirit and what that almost tingling sensation and an almost electric, can I think of energy? I keep thinking of a better word, like presence or something. That electric presence that came from working with magic just kept slipping away, regardless of how I try to grasp it. And I really think my being neurodivergent caused some of that, because while I was trying to make agendas and make calendars for my real life, first of all, I am obsessed with lists, okay, but because if I don't, nothing will get done. The thing is, I make lists anyway, and things don't get done anyway, because I forget about them. So you can imagine trying to write, you know, a schedule for my witchcraft, which, in my mind, because of my issues, and because I needed to prioritize real life, you know what I mean, it would kind of go at the bottom. And that's why it wouldn't get anywhere. And like I said before, the more I stayed away from it, you know, and all the things I did as a witch and as a pagan, the more I would feel like I was never part of it, or completely disconnected from who I am on the inside. And I think reality sucks out a lot of things. Being realistic and focusing on reality is important. No shit. But if you don't take time to balance yourself, you will lose who you are. It could be like a Scrooge effect, I suppose. I just made that up. You know, focusing so much on succeeding or getting rich, or the reality harshness of life, that you just sort of start to lose yourself. And hopefully I won't get up to the part where 3 ghosts have to visit me, but you never know. Just be told I am kind of fascinated by the spirit of Christmas future. More so the present guy. I'm curious about his lifespan. That's not important, though. You see what I mean? I can't even... I don't know how I do these videos. Anyway, so the neurodivergency, and it's not just that I disconnect, it's like the thoughts about disconnecting start overlapping, and I start worrying, and some of my anxiety kicking in, but that's not really the point right now. I would lose the inability. Here's one major thing that happens. I lose the, and I've always had this problem, but as I would move farther away from witchcraft and all that stuff, and as my spirit was becoming more disconnected from it, I would sort of, what was I gonna say? I can't remember what I was gonna say. As I became more disconnected from witchcraft, it became harder and harder for me to, like, focus on meditation, or stay centered and grounded, or focus on my spells. This is actually something I've always had a problem with, but sometimes it's worse than others, and the less I do witchcraft, and the less I meditate, the harder and harder it gets for me to stay in that energy bubble. And it feels like it pops, or like it just disappears, and then it will come back, and it would cause such a dissonance in my head, and it made everything worse. So that's something I thought was interesting. I'm sure a lot of people have problems with it, but I feel like people, witches who are neurodivergent or have ADHD or anything like that, struggle even more with it. On one hand, I'm grateful that I found this path because it made me concentrate on my spirit. It made me try to find who I really am on the inside, and it made me, because of the meditation, camera almost fell, it made me a little more centered and grounded and aware, but at the same time, that awareness always felt like it was pulling me away from Bridget, or Caradwin, or any ancestor I tried to connect to. And it's all very important to keep. I keep talking in a British accent, I don't know why. I've been listening to a content creator called The Right Opinion, and he has a British accent, so maybe that's why. But yeah. So there's a huge disconnect in my head. And I know somehow I can put it together, and I can join them, but I may have to break, finally, from doing witchcraft in a traditional manner, because I am not a traditional-minded person. That British accent! I'm just gonna keep talking like this for the entire video. You know what, fuck it, I'm gonna keep talking like this, because it's fun, even though my accent can't be very good. Anyway, yeah, so basically, yeah. I've been thinking about little ways in which I can, no, fuck it, I'm not doing that. I've been thinking about little ways in which I can, you know, keep on track, like carrying stones in my pocket, leaning on a tree, and saying a few lines to myself, and not even taking too long to get in the moment, just taking like 10 seconds to be somewhere and then moving on. And even if it doesn't work completely, it will help my brain cells to collect themselves while still being in my spiritual body. So, and yeah, that's basically my basic thoughts about that. If you guys have anything to add, or if you guys are like a neurodivergent witch, or pagan, or spiritual being, or a druid, whatever, carrying this around like a puppet, hello. He almost looks like he has faces. He has like multiple faces. He had like the snake face, or was a snake face? Kind of looks like a snakish type. And what does this look like? What does this look like? I don't know. Who does that look like? A piece of cheese. Okay, well. Me and my rock are gonna go this way. So, I hope you guys have a great weekend and all. Happy OSTARA, by the way. Happy OSTARA. I feel like that's another thing. I keep feeling I can forget all the holidays. That's not good. And yeah, they just don't. It might be partially like the last year has been like blah, and been like very depressing, whatever. But yeah, it's OSTARA. So happy bunny time. So I'll see you guys, and hopefully that video was decent. Okay, bye.